Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragionFive.
And welcome to the Kickback Cafe, the show where we kick back, relax, and talk about anything but Disney. And tonight we're going to be going over a really high-quality short film that really took me by surprise. And I keep watching this one over and over. BlueDragionFive, I got to give you a lot of credit because when you first pitched this, I was like, yeah, okay. But this short really got to me. So you want to properly set it up?
Sure. So in a nutshell, the premise of this is, and we're continuing on with talking about these shorts that, in short, from what I kind of gave you the whole long yarn about last time, Bruce Timm's coming back to do the DC direct-to-video animated films that can go from PG-13, even though these shorts are kind of skewing on R in the movie, presumably also. But point is, it's a big deal. And also, Bruce Timm coming back, that's also a big deal because he's the guy who kind of created the animated DC hero and made it really awesome, which again is kind of the thing DC is doing a lot better than Marvel in the animation.
It's the one thing that DC is doing better. Gotta give him something.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically Bruce Timm's come back and to kind of promote the movie. He's doing 3 shorts along with a comic series and stuff, just to kind of like a mini, 4 comic issues similar to this, but like the origins for the characters in the comics. Anyway, so it's just like some 3 shorts that are smartly released on the Machinima Network, and from what I hear, they've kind of labeled it season 1, so hopefully there are more on the way.
Ooh, that's exciting. Nice.
It's not official. It's just like they labeled it season 1, so hopefully that means they're really hoping for more. But we'll see how the movie and everything goes. Any points? Bruce Timm really just kind of put his Bruce Timm stamp with some really creative minds and directors he's worked with. Minds, storyboard artists, no one he's worked on with the past. And they really knocked out of the ballpark with these 3 shorts. First 2 more so than the Wonder Woman one, but it's not bad. The point is, we're talking about Superman here, and in a nutshell, the premise is the government's Superman countermeasure goes awry, and Superman stops it. That's the premise in a nutshell. Without getting into the juicy stuff.
That's a very thin premise at first glance, but my God, do they squeeze a lot into 5 minutes.
So without getting into the juicy stuff, and when we get to the thoughts on the reimagining, I'll explain to you what the idea behind the premise is, which I've explained to you a little bit before. But so let's tell you, what was your initial reaction to this short? Kind of give me some emotions. What were you feeling?
My initial reaction to this short is that this is the kind of short that should win best animated short at the Oscars.
It was really good.
I mean, I swear to God, I like this that much that I'm like, okay, it's a lot better than what was that, Feast? I'm sorry, I'm still gonna crap on Feast. I didn't like Feast.
I like Feast.
Yeah, there's half the stuff that the dog ate, he would have died from eating. That's
you're just nitpicking.
No, I'm not nitpicking with it. That's a major plot hole. Okay, anyways, but yeah, that was my reaction. I was like, wow, okay, that gave us it basically gave us everything that we want in Superman. It gave us kind of the government sort of being skeptical of Superman. It gave us a really heroic moment. It gave us danger, and it also gave us a lot of really heavy kind of kind of cerebral stuff to ponder over. So
yeah,
to tell you the truth, this is probably one of my favorite Superman things that I've ever seen.
No, it is really good. I'll give you that. Basically, with this whole kind of Gods and Monsters thing, when I heard this premise, so this is the first one reimagined, by the way, the Superman one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I just heard the premise, I was really grabbed by it. But again, I'll give you the details on that when we get to it. But however, in terms of the short, I think the first, the way it kind of broke down for me, first half was good, a really good status quo builder setup for what we're going to see, just how who we have as president, there were Superman countermeasures, stuff like that.
Sure.
And also it felt kind of like 50s paranoia, kind of Cold War stuff. It seemed really cool also.
It almost kind of reminded me of Watchmen in a way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a little bit of Watchmen in there too. And then, of course, the second half, we had that really kind of emotional end and these fascinating implications, which really just made it an awesome. Basically, it was a decent short. Then it became an awesome short from that second half.
Exactly.
Basically, we did not see the second half coming at all.
No, not at all.
So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into our recap here. It's not long, so we'll get into it.
Nope. That's the beauty of these things. They're 6 minutes long, and 2 out of 3 of them managed to pack a ton of substance. So
we got Lois Lane. So this is the version of Lois Lane in this universe. Kind of redhead, short red hair. This she's reporting on Metropolis in shambles. A lot of basically it's in chaos right now because there's a big swirling red little vortex in the middle of in the heart of the city. It's kind of making these whirlwinds, kind of everything's crashed, like a natural disaster in the heart of Metropolis that's apparently been planted there. And Lois Lane is pointing out that the government knows something, and they're not saying what. So it's kind of interesting that she just instantly pointing out, well, the government must know something, but they're just not saying it live on air to everyone.
Right.
By the way, a little fun fact here: the voice of Lois Lane, I believe it's, if I'm remembering correctly, it's like Paget Brewster or something. She voiced Lois Lane. Sorry, not Lois Lane. She voiced Lana Lang in The Dark Knight Returns. Who was a reporter in that. Remember?
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
Well, she was like on the counterpoint thing. She was like on the Watchmen-y like news discussion program.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, and also maybe kind of red hair, a little bit like Lana Lang. So a bit of mixing there. Okay, so let's see. So. A lot of destruction and chaos going on in Metropolis, as we said.
Well, I like how it kind of sets it all up. Like, this is a really catastrophic event. Like, it's almost like, I really hope in Batman versus Superman. I really, and I think they will do it, but I really hope they address the whole like, oh, thank God you saved us, Superman. You destroyed half our city.
They are. Seriously, they are. How can they know the whole false god statue and everything? Come on.
Exactly.
But let's just be a little. Let's give Man of Steel a little levity on this one.
I will never give it. Dude, what? Man of Steel and Dark Knight Rises are like the same thing for me. I will never give any of those movies.
I mean, it's kind of funny because Bruce Timm seems to be kind of correcting what Man of Steel did in this short in a way. He's just, especially with the ending.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of funny, but I'm saying let's
and then it bothers, I'm sorry, but really quick, it bothers me that it's like at the end of Man of Steel, it's like, oh, Clark Kent glasses, but then like in Batman versus Superman, he's like this god. So it's like whatever, let's move on.
Anyway, okay, so then we got to what's happening with the White House. Again, there's a little mention of the government, so let's see what they're cooking up over there. So we're at the White House, and we see, in this universe is interesting, Amanda Waller, who was a big player within the DC universe, who we will see in Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah,
and, who some people may remember from the Green Lantern movie, and that version will never come back. Just in a nutshell, Tiki, Amanda Waller, she is kind of the... I don't want to say Nick Fury because Nick Fury is much more heroic, but Amanda Waller, she's kind of this, she's the government figure who believes in using superheroes and supervillains, basically the superpower element to accomplish government feats, like using them, put them in again, she assembles the Suicide Squad to take on these missions and stuff. That's her main thing. That's her main achievement. She put together the Suicide Squad. But also she, in some versions like the animated series, she put together Cadmus, which is the science division of a secret science division of the government that kind of makes like clones of heroes and stuff. And point is, she's like she was traditionally the clandestine government organization lady who was like close to the president. Like, well, we need to go to the B option. What do we do if Superman goes rogue? That's her role. Like, she comes up with like, what do we do if the heroes go rogue? That's her.
Okay.
Now that's her traditionally. Now here she is the president in this version. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting, like how far we might have gone there. So we got a Madam President who was Amanda Waller, in fact. So she's conferring with her go-to guy on the situation.
Would you say she's like a more serious take on a J. Jonah Jameson type when you say like they're against superheroes and skeptical superheroes?
The thing is, like, the thing with Amanda Waller is actually she has a really good arc because like she becomes really close with Batman. Like at first she and Batman butt heads, and then they become kind of like she has a really high respect for Batman. So she comes around. That's her thing. She's not all bad. She has good intentions, but she's like that hard hand of the government that really does like underhanded things, but for good intentions.
So, like you said, kind of Nick Fury type sounds like.
Yeah, it's kind of a Nick Fury, but more or less altruistic on the surface. Like Nick Fury, he's always trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so the president's conferring with her, her White House kind of war room, if you will, and she's talking to Dr. Sivana. Now, Tiki, Dr. Sivana is someone we may be seeing in the films like down the line.
Are you talking about the bald guy?
Yeah, bald guy. It's not Lex Luthor.
I totally thought it was Luthor.
Well, he called him Sivana.
Well, you know what I thought it was? I thought it was kind of like an alternate take on Lex Luthor.
Well,
I didn't know.
You're going to see Lex Luthor in the movie. Well, if you see them, I don't know if you're going to see it or not. But the point is,
I'll make a point to see the movie. These shorts have got me interested.
Yeah, Lex Luthor is going to be really interesting. He has kind of like this. He's kind of blended with this guy called Metron. He's kind of like this Stephen Hawking type guy in a floating wheelchair.
Oh, I'm not sure how I feel about
that. No. The idea of how Luthor will transition through various points in the movie. So that's like a version. So the point is, Luthor should be interesting in the movie. And a little bit like talking with Superman. Anyway, so Dr. Savant.
I'm still excited about Eisenberg Luthor. Just throwing it out there.
So Dr. Savant is a character who is the bad guy for Captain Marvel, or as people have to grow to know him, Shazam. You know, the guy that says, Shazam! Lightning bolt. That guy.
Shaq.
What?
Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, right, that shit. No, that's Kazam, you silly. That's Kazam.
Oh, that's Kazam?
Yeah, it's Kazam.
Oh, holy crap. This whole time I've been thinking that Shazam was just a really bad... Wow. Okay.
Point is, Dr. Savant, he's like just he's the mad scientist who fights Billy Batson, otherwise known as Shazam, or properly Captain Marvel. The guy, you know, basically he's the guy that makes the giant robot.
This whole time I've been running around thinking that Shazam was freaking Shaquille O'Neal. Thanks for educating me. Now I feel like I learned something.
You know, as per usual, Dr. Savant is a really brilliant scientist too. He's one of the big minds of DC, and let's just say this is important for the movie. The scientists are kind of a big part of the movie, as like they are the targets of the bad guy in that movie. So they were going to be like kind of being knocked off one by one. All the major scientists of the DC universe. I believe he would also be on this list, is my guess.
Okay.
Anyway, so Dr. Savant is like conferring with Amanda Waller, and he's suggesting a major kiloton bomb. He's suggesting a kiloton bomb to like a nuclear bomb to detonate on the situation. He says like you're suggesting a nuclear bomb, a small one. And I love the smile he gives too. That's classic Savant. It's Savant having this kind of this twisted sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Savant is just kind of, he's like your old school mad scientist, like how Luthor started out in the comics, but basically Savant always kind of stayed that way. That's the idea of Savant.
He's got kind of the same sort of attitude about Superman that Luthor does.
Yeah, but that's probably what they're reimagining, I'm guessing. But
of course.
Yeah. And anyway, so basically Savant is suggesting we nuke Metropolis, which obviously is not the way to go. And anyway, so
get out the rocket launcher or the grenade launcher.
So what's established in this scene is that the big threat in question, the big swirling vortex in Metropolis, is Brainiac, which I thought was interesting. Oh my God, Brainiac was devised as a Superman countermeasure. That's awesome.
That is a really cool idea. Yeah.
And of course, you know, the technology going rogue. It's classic literature and fiction right there.
And now what I love about this whole thing and about, you know, kind of putting the intro into perspective is your mind is just kind of going nuts right now about what Brainiac possibly could be.
Exactly. Because as you hear Brainiac mentioned, that's just that awesome thing on its face, and knowing that it was like devised by the government of the Superman, just and seeing how it pays off ultimately with how they went about it, it's mind blowing. We'll get to that. So anyway, you know, of course, like with that being a countermeasure, it's basically if Superman gets out of line, they like unlock something. They say Brainiac goes sick Superman, and he's done for. That was the plan.
Right.
So again, the choice faced the president is, you know, nuke Metropolis, or we lose the Eastern Seaboard. So really, not the best choices because there's no sign of Superman. And of course, the iron. Savannah points out the irony. You know, it's kind of funny. We built this to stop Superman, yet we need him more than ever to stop it.
Oh yeah.
And there's Amanda Waller saying, "Oh, shut up." This is no time for irony, you idiot. We're about to blow up a city, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so regretfully, she has to call in the nuclear strike because there are no options left. So she's calling in the warhead. You know, got a guy in a plane with the warhead in tow, and he's like really. I love this. The guy really doesn't want to do this. He's saying, "Oh Jesus, you know, oh God, forgive me." He's like, I'm so sorry. He's gonna have to push the button. But then an awesome moment happens. Superman appears, and it's not just it's kind of the reimagined Superman, and making an entrance instead of like your classic kind of like Christopher Reeve Superman just knock on the glass, give him a smile, and say, "I'm going to take care of this." it's this Superman he carves on the glass to make an entrance. He scratches on the glass with his like, you know, superhuman fingernails. You know, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah, I from that point on, I was like really invested.
And I just love this. I love the simple moment. It's like kind of the reverse, like a Christopher Reeve moment. Guy just going like thumbs up. Just like, okay, I don't have to blow up the city. Go ahead, man, do it.
Right.
So we're in the heart of Metropolis again. Things are swirling. Now there was a few really smart references to Superman in the short, by the way, like classic Christopher Reeve Superman.
Oh, okay.
Because, and you remember, so we'll get into a little more later on, but the idea
I
is
haven't seen that movie in forever, so I might not remember anything. But
again, we'll get into this a little more when we get to the reimagining. But the idea is this Superman is kind of General Zod. That's kind of the basis idea of this. So it's fun reverse of the Superman 2 situation of Superman versus Zod, because we're in a hard metropolis, and they get that big swirling red ball, and the homage to Superman 2 is that there's this bit in the movie where Superman's fighting Zod, obviously, and then the big fun quotable line from that movie people just kind of make fun of, but in a joyous, like a nostalgic way. They quote Christopher Reeve as Superman saying, "No, Zod, the people."
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, "You will deal before Zod."
No, not that. But it's like the Christopher Reeve just saying, "No, the people," which of course, I'm surprised people have not mocked that with Man of Steel. I'm really surprised.
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, we're not going to get too.
Oh God.
So that was the idea, because there's a bit in that movie where he's fighting Zod and the other Kryptonians, and basically they throw a bus at him, and Superman stops the bus, and he's like, "No, the people!" And in the Richard Lester version, this is another big thing here, is that with that whole "the people" thing, is that the three Kryptonians in the movie, they were standing in a line. They were using their super breath to blow like a typhoon. And that was where they did the comedy bits, like the ice cream spurting it. Basically, people play a lot of wind gags. Like their ice cream blow off the cone, and papers would be flying all around the place,
right,
falling over. And again, that was from the crappy version of Superman 2, but the decent version, not crappy. I'm sorry, just the Richard Donner version is so much cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, it's a little reference. It's a really kind of neat, subtle reference to that, like the whole wind blowing Metropolis and Superman kind of walking through it. And the other thing, again, kind of with the people, is all the
people.
Is that all these bystanders in a bus, again, similar to what I just told you about in Superman 2, the people in a bus that he saves. They're on the side. They're saying, "Help us, help us!" And this Superman, interestingly enough, he does not help them. He's dealing with the job at hand. So forget the people. We're saving by taking out the threat.
Oh, he might have something to come with Man of Steel Superman.
Again, but he still is focused on the job at hand, though.
Oh,
Interesting. Okay, so we're inside the vortex. Superman finally makes his way across there. Again, this Superman is all about getting the mission done. He's only got 5 minutes before that nuke goes off, before they have to go the nuclear option, which he wants to avoid.
I mean, is that really true? Is that guy really going to be like, "Well, it's been 5 minutes, nothing happened"?
No, I'm sure not. But the point is, if something doesn't happen soon, the guy's going to have to blow it, which he doesn't want to happen.
Right.
So the point is, Superman finally gets there. He goes to this huge swirling red vortex. He's kind of in the eye of it, so to speak. He goes through the vortex. He's in the eye of it, and then inside's this really kind of calm, quiet scene that transpires, and boy, is it moving.
Oh yeah, this is like the last 2 minutes of this short, I would say.
It's the Oscar moments.
Right, exactly.
So we're inside, and we see Brainiac. The thing's been built up, the whole special thing's causing all this destruction around. And let me just tell you this actually is kind of similar to a moment with Batman in Justice League, where it was with a girl with psychokinetic abilities.
Okay.
And let's just say Batman had to do something similar. He didn't do the action that we're going to talk about, but he basically was with her till the end.
Mm-hmm.
So to speak. Anyways, it's kind of a similar moment in tone here. But so we find out that Brainiac is a kid, not just a kid; he's like a really young kid.
He's like practically a toddler.
Yeah, maybe like a 5-year-old, if not younger.
Right.
So the point is and also Tara Strong does the performance on this kid, which is really.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow! I didn't even notice that in the credits.
Tara Strong, very good. So anyway, see this.
Oh, give it up.
Now we have this young kid Brainiac, and it's not just the kid. He's first of all, his brain looks like he's having a lot of mental stress. I'm not saying aneurysm exactly, but it could just be the design of it. I'm not sure, but he has a really.
Well, I mean, the design is very mutated. He's got all those different little, kind of look like tree branches in a way, kind of extended.
Yeah, like the veins. Well, those are the veins.
Exactly.
I'm saying it looks like overstressed veins mutation type thing. The big white things, those are part of the design though. So those are built into the thing. Point is, he's also missing an arm. He's missing one of his robotic arms. He's crying, and he's freaked out. He doesn't know what's going on. He escaped, and he's missing an arm. And he's just terrified. He doesn't know anything. He says. Then we have the Superman, really quiet scene. I love how quiet the scene. Superman saying, "Who are you?" "I don't know." He's just escaped, and he's escaped, and he's just the kid's so afraid and crying and sniffling, and it's so sad. And then Superman walks up to the kid, and he kneels down. And I love this moment. He talks to the kid. He says, "Well, when I was your age, or when I first got here, I had to learn to control my powers. Why don't you try that?" And again, the kid, he's stressed out. I only assume his mind, again, I could be stretching here. I'm assuming his mind's like giving like a massive headache or something. Again, causing
yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent he kind of knows what damage he's causing, and he obviously doesn't want to cause that damage.
Yeah, he can't help it, because it's probably like the mental stress is just causing all this around it too,
right,
he can't keep his powers in check. And he's saying, "I can't stop it, I can't," and you feel bad for the kid. He can't. Now, ordinarily, Superman might continue with the conversation here, maybe try to calm the kid down, give him some helpful kind of Man of Steel style Martha Kent advice.
Oh God.
Like, picture me as an island, that sort of stuff. Doesn't happen. What happens instead is Superman says, he just kind of states the fact. I can. And he can. And then, they got this really heart-wrenching moment from Tara Strong. The way she delivers this is brilliant. Just saying, it's really creepy, too, like just how big the eyes are, filled with tears and everything. Do it. Superman, like, calmly, he caresses the kid's head.
Oh, man.
The eyes heat up because you know what's going to happen. At first, I thought it was going to take a Man of Steel parody. Not parody, like a Man of Steel-ish ending, but thankfully it didn't go that dark.
Right.
Point is really artfully done there, really beautifully, artfully, kind of Mice and Men style-y done.
Oh, it's definitely Mice and Men. Yeah, that's a good parallel.
The eyes go red. You know what happens. We cut to the outside. We see like the circle dies down. Like the big swirling red vortex. It's dissipating. It's going away. It's a real somber aftermath because we know what happened. He had to torch the kid. He had to either lobotomize and kill the kid or just kill the heat vision.
Mm-hmm.
It's real sad. I love the score in this scene so much. By the way, I love the score in this scene. Like just kind of that revving down music. And then the best moment of animation, best moment of acting and animation in this short happens. Just the Superman is kind of looking up. He knows what he's done. He knew what had to be done. He had no choice in the moment. He looks up. He's probably thinking he had other options, but he didn't know how to do it.
Exactly.
He just looks up and he gives this sigh, this beautifully animated sigh. Like, he looks really sad. We get this great last shot of like him looking down. The kid's body's on the ground, just looking so somber and so sad. It's the last shot of pure sadness. And that's where it ends.
There you go. Give it the Oscar. And give it Feast Oscar too. Give it 2 Oscars.
This is the Red dream. This is the Red's dream of Superman animated shorts.
Right.
So, wow. Big stuff. Big, heavy stuff there.
Yeah, I think it kind of speaks for itself. It's like I said, I think my favorite part of it is how much your imagination kind of, especially, of course, the first viewing. The second, like multiple viewings after this, you kind of just appreciate it for just the artistry of it all. But I love how your mind is like, oh, man, what's this Brainiac going to be? He must be like some big, terrifying monster.
Let me give you a few things here. Let's transition to what we thought on this reimagining on the whole. Okay. First of all, let me tell you why this short was so good. Let me tell you the guys who were working on this short, in addition to Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm directed it, did a great job. As I mentioned before, Alan Burnett, he wrote all these, and Alan Burnett's a fantastic writer.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he wrote the Two-Face episode. The guy's a master. The guy's kind of the godfather of Batman. He's one of the godfathers of Batman. This guy's the key,
Yeah.
But not just Batman. He's basically forever weaved into the fabric of the DC universe. The guy's very important. And importantly, speaking of Man of Steel, someone who worked on Man of Steel, but also importantly, was one of the best Batman directors I've ever seen. Jay Oliva, he worked on Dark Knight Returns, Flashpoint. The guy's a good director.
Okay.
He's also great storyboarding, and he storyboarded the action scenes in Man of Steel. Which, I mean, to be fair, you got to admit the action's pretty cool in that movie.
You know what I'm going to say? So I'm not even going to say it.
Look, take away the fact that it goes on. I'm just saying the action itself. You got to admit the construction fight's pretty cool, though. Come on.
I admit nothing.
All right, fine. Well, you admit. Look, tell me this. Not from that, but from Dark Knight Returns, the Batman Superman fight's pretty cool, right?
Oh yeah. Oh god.
That was all.
I like Dark Knight Returns. So, yeah, that's a much better example.
Again, he directed it, but that whole scene's boarded by him too. Like the action, this guy's really great at action, but also he's great at the artful shots too. Because this guy, Jay Oliver, I can't speak highly of him enough. He just really knows how to lay out the emotions of a shot when he's directing.
Mm-hmm.
But also when he's doing the storyboards for it too, like he storyboarded like in Dark Never Turns, the animated film, like the whole murder of Bruce's parents, and like he has whenever he does the murder of Bruce's parents in animation, he has it raining, but he also does like the pearl shot and everything. He makes it look really great. Yeah, delivers those.
How many times do we see that in animation?
Well, I mean, it's always artfully done, so you don't get too gruesome, except for these. But, yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the equivalent of Uncle Ben's death.
It's kind of
like
funny.
You just see it
he's
so many times.
Saying whenever he does it, whenever he boards it, it has rain in the sequence. That's his mark on the parent's death. It's
sure.
That's him. Okay, so I'm just saying those guys are the big kind of trio behind the awesomeness of this short. But I'm sure there are other people involved. Those three guys really kind of together, they really made this stand out. Okay, let's get into like thoughts on the reimagining here. So I thought it was really cool. There's a real cool backstory idea for Superman here, and the premise of this. Here's the backstory. So the idea is this is not the son of Kal-El. This is not Superman himself. This is the son of General Zod. So from what I can see in the trailer, the idea is it looks like General Zod might kill Jor-El. And I assume he hijacks the spaceship and basically, I can only guess, he throws Kal-El out of there and puts baby Zod in there.
Oh wow! Okay,
that's my guess.
So that's a kind of a really simple kind of premise to go off of.
Yeah. But also,
okay, interesting. Okay, go.
Again, I don't know about the second part, like throwing the baby out, but I know he basically he and Jor-El were enemies and basically took the spaceship idea and then he sent them down there. So basically the baby Superman is in fact son of Zod, not son of Jor-El. And anyway, so he doesn't land in Kansas though. He's not raised by the Kents. He is he lands on like a migrant, a Mexican migrant place, like a farm. Okay. So basically, that's why he has a really skewed he has a really skewed perception of the government because he's seen kind of the negative bias side of the government there.
Sure.
So it's really interesting. So he has seen the negative side of humanity and particularly the government being raised by Mexican migrants who really, they love them still, but it's like a war-torn area. It's like a real violent part of the world.
Yeah, no, that's really fascinating. Like I said, it's just kind of like a really simple kind of base premise to go off of that you can explore a lot.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why I will be checking out this full movie, because I just like the idea of, these alternate universes. Of course, we just talked about, freaking Batman being a Dexter vampire,
Yeah. And here's what really struck me as brilliant with this interpretation, Tiki. Mm-hmm. Now, going into this, just with that premise in mind, just knowing this is going to be a Justice League that's not afraid to kill people, it kind of struck me that this is a Superman who still has good intentions and humanity about him, as we saw at the ending with the awesome Psy.
Sure.
And I'm sure he has a willingness to take lethal measures, as we saw that he did. Like traditionally, and then let's not get into Man of Steel bashing. Traditionally, Superman would never consider that action. Okay.
Well, you know what? With Man of Steel, that's like one of the few things I will defend is him killing Zod.
Yeah.
And the reason I defend it is because of his reaction to it right afterwards. Yeah. I mean, it's not like he enjoyed killing Zod. It's like, I don't like that movie, but that is one complaint that I will defend.
Yeah, again, I give it credit saying, well, we'll see what they do in the sequel, because he does feel bad for it and seeing the reaction to that action. I'm sure they're going to get.
I just don't like Snyder. I really just don't like Snyder.
Okay, I got you. We have several videos talking about this. I got you. Anyway, so the point is, this Superman was willing to take lethal measures, and again, is with the distrust of the government. I'm sure that comes in the big conflict between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're taking things into your own hands, which is kind of something we are going to see played in Batman and Superman. More so, the misconception of him killing someone in that sequence. I mean, he did kill someone in Man of Steel, but then it's going to be the government kind of saying, "Oh, he killed his own kind. He must be evil."
I don't think that's necessarily what the government's going to be worried about in Man of Steel.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm saying there's that, but also all the other stuff attached to that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the point is, I like this. Here's the most interesting idea presented in this short to me. With that in mind, I think the most interesting idea is that there was that moment where he's talking to young Brainiac. And it's just the idea that Superman traditionally, he represents hope. You know, that's what he does. He represents hope, and yet this Superman, he lacks hope because of his upbringing. So this Superman, you know, he's not doing everything possible to avoid the killing option. You know, it's a valid choice in his mind, but, you know, had he talked to the kid, maybe had he talked the kid through a little more, he could have helped him. You know, he could have not had to go with that option, but he played out in his mind, well, that is a solution. I'm capable of that solution. That is a way. He told the kid point blank, I know how to stop this. If you don't know how to do this, so I'm not going to, like, I don't see, no one's gave me this conversation of like, hey, listen, have faith in yourself.
Exactly.
No one gave me that, so I don't know how to talk you through that. Yeah, do it yourself. And again, that might be kind of reflective of the world in a way, of like a Superman who lacks hope, and he hasn't brought hope to the world. So maybe there's a bit of that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it's a very interesting idea. Superman, he couldn't talk. We've seen that situation so many more times with Superman talking to another superpowered person, telling him, well, I went through the same process of controlling my powers. And here he was in that situation, and he just didn't give him the rest of the conversation. He just said, hey, listen, do this. Okay. It had all that.
I mean, he didn't even really give him a goodbye speech or anything. You know, he didn't even be like, I mean, at least like to the mice and men thing, you know, we have the famous, like, just look at the rabbits, you know, like, he didn't even give him that.
Yeah, again, he did feel bad about it, too. He just,
of course.
It's like, it's a kind of moment where at the end where he just said, he sighs, but what that communicates is he wished he knew another way to do it. But again, in this world, he doesn't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And another idea we're going to see in the movie is that this version of Superman, again, he comes from kind of a bad seed, General Zod. And because of that, he has kind of like basically it's almost, I'm just going to use a Y comparison here.
Of course.
It's like, what if Hitler had a kid, and would the kid turn out to be a good guy or a bad guy? So the idea is this is a Superman who wants to do good, and he tries to, but obviously he skews a little more to this skewed view of the world. So he might turn bad, he might turn good, but he wants to do good. But he has just genetically in his blood, he has a bad guy genetically in his blood, though. So there's a question of like, is he going to, you know, this DNA versus destiny, that sort of thing. You know, is he going to become a hero? Or is he going to, you know, kind of take after Papa? So there's an interesting thing there. Also, let's start with the voice acting real quick, this reimagining. So first of all, I love the design, by the way. I had a thought in mind when I was rewatching this. I was thinking, remember when Kevin Smith did the whole Superman Lives thing, and like he wrote the script and he was told like you can't put him in the costume?
Oh yeah, right.
This is the way you could have done it. I'm saying forget the goofy Nick Cage costume. They could have done this.
Now all we need to do is have him hide under a rock.
Seriously, this would have been actually the way around. Just put him in the red and blue, give him a big old leather jacket.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's a really good design, yeah. And now that you say Zod, I mean, of course, the goatee makes sense.
Yeah, again, it looks really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Benjamin Bratt does the voice here. Now Benjamin Bratt, some people might know him from other stuff. Me personally, I know him from Despicable Me 2 as kind of the hilarious, over-the-top Mexican villain. The point is, this guy's a good actor.
His name kind of sounds like one of those faces that pops up in a lot of stuff, but he's kind of more of a character actor.
Yeah, I thought he had, again, he didn't say a lot because he was shorts, but, you know, I thought he had a decent voice, and he communicated a lot there, you know?
Right. And then Tara Strong, I mean, what can you say? It's like I didn't even freaking, like, pick up on that it was her at all. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the credits, but with so little, it's just, like, packs such a punch.
Yeah, and I think with the performance of Superman here, I think you get a lot of Zod in the performance, but it has a human touch with it too. Of like he's not a far gone Zod, like he's like a few clicks away from being completely like dictator in his speech pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he can also, I think it's gonna be interesting to see maybe if an accent comes about there, because again, he was raised in Mexico.
True.
So you know, we'll see how that goes. So again, also with this short, just say there was some great shot composition. Again, Jay Olive, I really knows how to board this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the whole like, little reveal of him on the windshield and everything. Just again, that last shot is just beautiful. Now here, let me give you this idea here. Let me run this by you. So with the whole Brainiac counter idea, first of all, yeah, as we mentioned, is brilliant. Just having a Brainiac as a countermeasure. Let me ask you this, Tiki.
Okay.
Do you think they made him into a kid to pose to see if he would have hesitancy to kill a kid?
That's an interesting theory. I mean, when I first saw it, I kind of took it as like, you know, he's just obviously like very young. They just made him, and you know, much like, you know, he just has to grow. But obviously, he's got a lot of power, so it's not like he needs to grow. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'd like to think? Now, in the little footage we have seen, I've seen for like the trailers and the sneak peeks. I haven't seen him like directly like kind of kill anyone in the trailers. He used his heat vision to, like, get rid of some railings. Some guys fell a long ways. We don't know if they're there or not. But the point is, like, we see Batman killing left and right in the trailer, and then stuff. Obviously, in the Wonder Woman short, we're going to see Wonder Woman. You know, she's killing people left and right. But I'd like to think maybe Superman, because he has so much powers, he doesn't really have to. He's more reckless with his power. If they die by accident, they die by accident. I like to think he's not trying to intentionally murder anyone, unless the situation
calls for it. Either. No,
that's the thing. I like to think he's so powerful. Like, well, I don't want to make the government right, because I don't trust those guys. You know, I mean, if I'd have to kill them to save everyone, if they kill the threat to save all the people, I'll do that. It gets the job done. And of course, with the emotions attached, and we just figures out that maybe that was the government's plan. Well, if Superman if he has any humanity, maybe he won't kill the kid, and that's how we defeat him. I thought it was an interesting idea, making it a kid. And I think that's intentional, not the idea that it would grow up to be a fully grown Brainiac, because otherwise, why not build a fully grown Brainiac?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it has to intentionally be a kid. So I'm sure that's to get to Superman's emotions and like take him out when he doesn't suspect it. But then again, I think there might be implications for the movie, perhaps. I don't know if they're going to address any of these shorts or not. But
I would like it if in the movie it was like, oh man, Superman killed a kid. What is the implication of that? Even though like he saved us all. Like, to me, that is a much better moral quandary than like, oh man, Superman wrecked half of Metropolis.
It'd be kind of cool if they like kind of the government's big ace in the hole was like, yeah, we know Superman would never go that far and to kill a child, and then basically that would be their big reason for having a lot of distrust towards Superman. Like, you know, he defeated our big countermeasure by killing an infant child.
Right.
Look, we can't anticipate this guy. We need better countermeasures here. Something like that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean. So again, the interpretation of Superman has been really interesting, and again, this one was the first one that kind of triggered all the rest of them, and for good reason, because it's just such a simple yet brilliant idea. Like, what if just not Son of Jor instead of Son of Jor-El, Son of Zod? Because Zod's cool.
It's honestly a lot more simple than the Batman alternate stuff that we got. Yeah. And not that I don't like the Batman stuff, I really do, but I mean, essentially, they kind of change a lot about that core character, whereas with this, it's like, he still maintains a lot of his same characteristics, just with a really interesting sort of backstory that could have, you know, a lot of implications.
And you know, to be fair, there is the idea of Superman landing in a different place that's been done before with like this really great story called Red Sun. But to be fair though, I think Bruce Timm does raise like he makes it distinctly not Clark Kent, because we know how Clark Kent turns out, you know. Just the idea that it's someone we can't exactly predict. We know they're usually going to turn out as a bad guy or the son of the bad guy. So again, it just makes it up in the air of like how this is going to go. And just the idea we have these characters who are ambiguous heroes. Like, they are heroic, but they're doing very villainous things.
Yeah, right.
It could be really, again, just really another grabbing idea to go forward with. I guess like closing thoughts, unless you got anything else to.
No, please.
So overall, again, just as we kind of said before, we're going to beat it to the ground here. It's really interesting, really powerful. I definitely want to see more. To me, this has been the most interesting one.
Oh, by far, I think. I mean, as much as I like the Batman one, like I said, I think this is on a whole nother level in terms of like just sheer artistry.
It's like this. I think this one deserves a movie. Batman deserves a series of these shorter episodes. But yeah, I'm just watching Batman. I want more like a serialized format. This one I could definitely see in a movie, and again, he'll be our lead character in the Gods and Monsters.
Sure.
So I think we're gonna get in that. So again, this could be a very fascinating Superman. You know, it's always good to spice up Superman in a way.
It already is in the 5 minutes that we got.
Yeah, and you know, Superman. Bruce Timm does a lot. Basically, his big stamp with Superman is he did Superman really dark, and that's why people kind of his Superman stick out a lot. Because in like the Superman Doomsday, he did like the clone of Superman that did a lot of evil stuff. So again, dark stuff is in Bruce Timm's wheelhouse, and it'd be interesting to see a Superman who's in conflict with doing dark stuff, yet who is still shaped by kind of a realistic world. Because as we've seen in the trailers, this guy You know, the Superman, he'll drink and, you know, he'll like make sexual remarks to Wonder Woman. So the good point is this guy, he's a real guy. And he has this really fun line in the trailers, by the way. They just kind of shows you this is not your granddad's Clark Kent Superman. This is not Clark Kent. It's definitely his Superman, because he says like, someone's framing the Justice League. Who would have the balls? So I think this guy's gonna be really interesting to follow. And this guy, I can't wait to see this guy, and can't wait to see the Gods and Monsters movie. So with that said, this one is definitely the best out of the shorts, but they're all good in their own ways.
Yeah, I'd say you summed it up perfectly. I say that's all. That's really all that needs to be said. Like I said, just give it the Oscar. I wish that this could be nominated for an Oscar because it really deserves it.
And remember, kids, when you're seeing a young cyborg in distress crying, try to talk him into calming down a little more.
There we go. Have a good night, folks.